Joining me now is author and political commentator Shamika Michelle.
When God looked at man, he said it's not good for man to be alone. He gave him a woman. He didn't give him a village. He didn't give him the community. He said, be fruitful and multiply to this man and this woman. So it's supposed to be God, husband, wife.
If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always done.
Happy Wednesday, head shakers. I am shaking my head today because Pam Grier lied on The View. So I did the thumbnail in reference to one of her black exploitation movies. And listen, I understand that F-A-U-X is pronounced faux. So it would actually be pronounced Folksy Brown, I guess, right? But I also understand that there are people who pronounce F-A-U-X as Fox, because I have heard some of you say Fox locks instead of faux locks. So either way, you understand that I'm saying this woman lied on The View. There was no other way for me to title this. I didn't need to be nice. I didn't need to make it seem as if I wasn't attacking her, because let's be clear, I am. I am attacking her because this is exactly what we were talking about yesterday. I ended yesterday's show and I got on X and I saw this clip floating and I said, dang, I wish I would have seen this earlier because I would have added it into the show. And then I got a call that said, that bitch lied. I said, I'm sorry. That bitch lied. I said, who said what? Everybody upset about Pam Grier lying on The View. That I said, well, okay, I didn't get to add it into my show, but it is a perfect example of what I was talking about. So let me just do a whole show addressing her and her lies. Did I say welcome to Shaking My Head with Shamika Michelle? I am your host, Shamika Michelle. I can't remember if I said that or not, but I know I said Pam Grier lied on The View. Let's take a listen, guys. Let's take a listen. I'm telling you.
You faced a lot of racism growing up in Columbus, Ohio. How did that shape you?
Whew. Well, the military wouldn't allow Black families to live on the base. So you had to live in an apartment. And you couldn't take a bus. You couldn't afford a car. You walked. Your dads walked to the base. And sometimes we would go from tree shade to get back to the apartment. My brother and I, my mom, with bags, and my mom would go, "Don't look, don't look, don't look." And she'd pull us away because there is someone hanging from a tree, and they have a memorial for it now, where you can see where people were and left. And it triggers me today to see that a voice can be silenced. And if a white family supported a Black, they're gonna get burned down or killed or lynched as well.
Yeah.
Let me say what we're all thinking. She couldn't act in Foxy Brown, Coffee, any of those. She couldn't act then, and she can't act now. Clearly, she did not have any acting lessons between the 70s and 2026 because it's still coming across real fake, real Black exploitationist, okay? It's still fake. And I am frustrated because I told you all yesterday, this is what Black politicians, Black celebrities, this is what they do. anytime the Democrat Party wants to grab to the heartstrings of Black people, this is what they do. Now, let me be clear. Let me be very clear about something. I am not, because I understand how y'all like to act silly, stupid, dumb, like you ride the short bus. I am not saying that lynchings weren't real. Okay. I'm not saying that racism didn't exist in America. It did in the North and South. It was real. I am not trying to deny history. We are, though, going to correct Pam Grier and correct this story. That's what we're going to do today, because honoring history means telling it accurately. We're not going to do the emotionalism. We're not going to have the small violins playing. I heard the gasp when the silly people in the audience, I'm pretty sure somebody was holding up a sign, gasp here. I heard the gasp when the silly people in the audience couldn't quickly do the math, right? I don't know. Maybe they thought this was Harriet Tubman instead of Pam Grier. Maybe they thought it was somebody just born a little bit earlier. Because let's talk about lynchings in Ohio, because this is where facts matter more than feelings. Ohio did have lynchings. That is a historical fact. But this is where some stuff is getting a little sketchy. It's being left out. Because the kind of lynchings Pam Grier, Folksy Brown mentioned, people hanging from trees, public displays, mothers having to shield their children's eyes. That era in Ohio ended decades before Pam Grier was born. That's the fact. And Pam is not telling the truth, sitting here talking about we were going from tree shade to tree shade, having to walk home, and my mother was having to grab our eyes. Pam Grier lied on The View. Most historians agree that Ohio's last classical lynching, the public racial terror kind, occurred in the early 1930s. The last one occurred in the early 1930s, and Pam was born in 1949, which means walking home with her mother had to be the 1950s. So Pam wasn't walking home in the 1950s and saw humans just swinging from trees like apples. That's I mean, it wasn't happening, Pam. It wasn't happening. So there were no bodies hanging in the 1950s. Historians agree. There were no hanging from trees in the 1950s Columbus for children to walk past. That imagery that Pam tried to paint, full of emotion and from the audience, doesn't match the historical record. Now, some people will say, but Ohio had 26 documented lynchings between the late 1800s and the 1960s. But this is where definitions matter. Some databases use a very broad definition of lynching. They include vigilante killings, mob violence, and cases that would not involve hanging or even race in the way people imagine. This doesn't mean people were being strung up in trees in Pam Grier's childhood. Okay? That wasn't happening. This means the word lynching is being stretched far beyond the imagery she used. Emotionally powerful language does not change timelines. And we discussed yesterday and Monday, it needs to be fact over feelings. We talked about the fact that just feeling a certain way, trying to paint a certain picture, doesn't make it a fact. I shared with you all yesterday Jasmine Felicia Crockett talking about ICE being modern day slave patrol. It sounds very emotional. It strikes fear and emotions in a lot of Black people. It's just not fact. And we could hear the emotion being struck in the audience as Pam Grier was talking. The problem, however, is that emotion just doesn't change timelines. Another important fact is that Ohio was not a slave state. It entered the Union as a free state in 1803. Now, before y'all start calling me a coon and an Uncle Tom in the comments, I do want to let you know that being a free state doesn't mean Ohio was free of racism. I'm not saying that. I need you all to put on your thinking caps along with your hearing muffs on your ears, your hearing muffs. Let's put those on and understand and follow what I'm saying. Because somebody's going to get up here and say, you act like racism didn't exist. It's not what I'm saying. We're going facts over feelings. Racism existed. Housing discrimination existed. Segregation existed. Prejudice existed. What did not exist were legal slave patrols, plantations, or public lynchings in Columbus in the 1950s. That just didn't exist. I'm sorry, Folksy Brown, you lied on The View. Context matters and accuracy matters even more. Pam Grier also claimed that Black military families weren't allowed to live on base, forcing her father to walk from off the base. She also said that her and her mother and her brother would be going from shade tree to shade tree. Segregation in military housing did exist earlier. Okay? Earlier. But by the 1950s, most military housing had already been integrated. So Pam is painting a picture that just isn't accurate. And you know it was set up for this foolishness because you could tell the question was already planned. They already planned for her to tell a big lie, a big whopper with cheese. They had already prepared that. It was clear in watching the clip. Again, timelines matter. Memory is not evidence. So I'm not, necessarily arguing with her memory, because there are times when you could be told a story over and over and over again that you start to kind of remember it as being true, although it's not true. And maybe Pam sat around. Uh, we know it wasn't an acting class because it doesn't look like she had much acting coaching. But maybe she sat around with family and heard stories, and she heard them so many times, she thought it was true. Or maybe she just went on here and told a big fat Whopper with cheese. I don't know. But repeating something just because it feels true doesn't make it historically true. Doesn't make it a fact. It just doesn't. Okay? So, let's talk about the real issue here, because I saw Jesse Kelly tweet this morning, and it said something like, uh past the obvious lies here. Why does this always happen? And why was she allowed to tell this big fat lie? Why was that allowed? And it goes back to what we talked about yesterday, that Black anger is in high demand. They love to pull on your heartstrings. They love to make you sad or emotional or angry. They care nothing about facts. They care nothing about accuracy. Because what we saw was Pam Grier lie on national TV. And no one corrected her. Whoopi didn't correct her. Whoopi Goldberg didn't correct her, who was getting mighty old, by the way. I mean, thank God, we all want to get older. I just don't know if I want to age like that. But anyway, Whoopi didn't say anything. Sonny, who is always lying as well, didn't say a word. Like, she wasn't challenged. Why didn't anyone correct Pam Grier when she was clearly telling a bold-faced lie? I tend to believe that, number one, it is because we have been conditioned to believe that Black women can't be corrected. Some of y'all gonna get real mad at that. You can't tell a Black woman anything. That is why the Democrat Party puts them right up front for everything. We watched Biden put Letitia James right up front to do what she needed to do in New York when it concerned Donald Trump. We watched them use Fannie Willis in Georgia to do what she needed to do right up front. We saw Ketanji Brown Jackson being put on the Supreme Court simply because she was a Black woman. And then this Black woman who was chosen because she was a Black woman couldn't even tell us what a woman was. Felt like she couldn't answer that because she wasn't a biologist. But because she was a Black woman, she didn't get the heat that she should have gotten for sitting and not knowing what a woman was. We all know a woman is an adult human female. But we allowed this Black woman to sit, who was going to be on the Supreme Court, to say she couldn't tell us what it was. I truly feel there is an issue with the matriarchy in the Black community. We see it's an issue. We know it's an issue. But when it works in their favor, they use it and they push it. And nobody gave Pam Grier any type of pushback on there, because not only is she a Black woman, she's a popular, well-respected Black woman. Everybody remembers Foxy Brown. with the afro, the big boobs, talking in the way Black people like to hear themselves talk. Everybody remembers that. Everybody remembers how tough she was in Foxy Brown after her man was killed. Nobody was going to question her. And I think that's a huge problem, because challenging that story would have disrupted the emotion, and they don't want to do that. They can't have us disrupting the emotion that they need to push their agenda. You can't question the emotion. Are you going to say that she didn't experience this when she's telling us with sighs and looking down and looking tense, that she didn't experience this? Yes. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it over and over and over again. Pam Grier lied on The View. She just did. And I think that she needs to be ridiculed for it, because she didn't say this in private. She said this on national television and no one corrected her. So I think it's a problem. Accuracy is optional. Black anger and Black emotionalism seems to be mandatory. Whether you're telling the truth or not matters a damn. As long as you are being emotional about it, that's currency. Oh, we can sell that. We can sell it. That's currency. They gonna make it rain for y'all niggas as long as you're being emotional. I'm sorry. I be trying to pull myself back when I know I'm going too far. And it just doesn't work. They will make it rain for you as long as you are being emotional. You don't have to be telling the truth. Does your lie have enough feeling with it? Is it emotional enough? Is it powerful enough to pull on the heartstrings of people and make them into puppets? That's all that matters. That's all they're concerned about. It doesn't have to be true. It just has to feel good. It doesn't have to be accurate. It just has to strike a tear. It doesn't have to be real. It just has to make you mad or sad or ready to be a robot and do whatever it is they want you to do. Who cares if it's true? Who cares if somebody is going to have batteries put in their back to go do something foolish because of your lie? Who cares? This is what they want. They want you to continue being robots and actors for foolishness. And you fall for it every time, hook, line, and sinker. And it's really annoying. It's crazy that I did this show on yesterday, and as soon as I finished, here was another example. I appreciate it though, so people can understand that I don't just pull this stuff out of my behind. I'm not just here making this stuff up. I'm not just telling you what I want you to hear. I am seeing these things happen. It makes me shake my head, and I present it to you so that you can shake your head as well. They tell us lie after lie after lie, and people refuse to correct it. They just won't. What can Can somebody answer that? Why do you feel like they continue to put Black women on the front lines to tell these type of lies? Black people on the front line to lead protests that have nothing to do with Black people. What is that about? And why are people so afraid to say, you know what? That's a lie. That's wrong. Because you know what happens when white people start to say that's a lie? And I'm hoping, white people, that you stop being concerned about this. But when white people would say, hey, Pam Grier is lying, if they just came together and said Pam Grier lied on The View, they're going to be written off. Their facts will be written off as just being racist or white supremacists, neo-Nazi. I mean, they're going to get called so many names. Many times, white people are tired of being called racist that they've just shut up. They've just stopped speaking. Now, I do appreciate those who say you're not going to shut me up and they continue to say it, but still sometimes it's not even received because of the insinuations and the lies and the accusations that they're only saying it because they're racist. They have a problem with a Black woman speaking her mind. They have a problem with a Black woman telling it like it is. They have a problem with their own history. That's what's said. When the truth is, they have a problem with the lies. They have a problem with the narrative that continues to be painted and allowed in America. We understand that racism existed, and in some places, people are still racist. We understand that. But the facts should speak for themselves. We should not have to make up stuff and pretend that stuff happened that didn't happen. It was enough that actually happened. And there are proven, history proves a lot of real facts. Pam didn't need to make this up. Pam Grier is not a child. She's not confused. I don't believe she's confused. And I don't think because she is Pam Grier or Foxy Brown that she's entitled to rewrite history. I don't care who she is. And I loved some of Whoopi Goldberg's movies. She's not entitled to sit and rewrite history. And we see this on The View time and time again. Just because it sounds good on television and you have the audience brought in on the slow bus to right at the right time. Y'all know good and well this woman born in 1949 was not walking around Columbus, Ohio as a child in the 1950s and having to have her eyes shielded by her mom because Black people were swinging from trees. That's just not the truth. History doesn't have to be embellished. Facts stand alone all by themselves. The only thing has to be embellished are lies. And we have to stop allowing people to get away with this just because they're some of our favorites. The movie was all right, but again, like I said, she couldn't act then and she can't act now. It just is what it is. Somebody has to tell the truth. And y'all might accuse me of being a coon, an Uncle Tom. What do you say? White supremacist in blackface, because I'm calling a thing, as Jasmine Felicia Crocker would say. We just gonna call a thing a thing. In my case, though, I'm calling the truth, the historical facts, the truth. I'm talking about accuracy here, not emotion. And it's again, y'all not tired? Y'all aren't tired? This is why I say that I have to unblack myself. Because this is what's expected so many times from Black people. Like I said, people will call me a coon or Uncle Tom just because I don't roll with the BS. Just because I won't accept the BS. Just because I won't applaud Pam Grier for going on national television and telling a lie. Because I'm willing to call her out for it. And all the minions sitting around her who didn't correct her, who didn't challenge her, at the very least, challenge her. Somebody should have said, "Are you sure, Pam?" Because if you were born in 1949 and you were going from shade tree to shade tree in the 1950s, are you saying that there were lynchings in Columbus, Ohio, after historical record says there weren't? Like, somebody should have challenged her. Nobody did. You want somebody to go unchallenged? Put them in the suit of a Black woman. Can lie to you all day long. And people won't say a word. Listen, anybody that can wear somebody else's hair, I'm talking about change the length of the hair, the color of the hair, the grade of the hair, and walk around and think they're the best thing since sliced bread. You can't tell them nothing. You can't. Y'all can't even tell them that the hair isn't real without them getting offended. Well, white women wear weaves. We don't see white women in afros, though. Typically, when white women put in extensions, they match the hair that's growing out of their heads. Y'all can have straight tumbleweed growing out of your scalp and put on what you call that? Peruvian, Brazilian, whatever. You get something that don't even match your hair texture. Put on your lashes. Nobody can tell you a thing. So you want somebody to get away with telling a big fat Whopper with cheese? Dress them as a Black woman. Because nobody can correct them. They don't even have the guts to most times. They won't even correct each other. I'll get in trouble for correcting Pam Grier. They'll be more upset with me for correcting her and giving you historical facts than they will for her going on national TV telling a lie in the first place. They won't even correct each other. How many times do you go in somebody's comments and you know the person like, "Girl, you look good"? No, do it, girl. That's what I'm talking about, B. Ain't got no fat 300-pound woman in spandex, no business in what she has on. Look in the comments. There's gonna be so many other Black women talking about, "You go, girl. You look good." That's what I'm talking about, B. They don't even correct each other. So you want to get away with some foolishness? That's how. I'm letting you know that's how you do it. Thank you, Jay Hunter Lee, for the super chat. People call others those names because they run out of intellectual dialogue. Exactly. It's very easy to say that instead of saying, well, I looked up this fact and this is what I found. No, they won't do that. They'll just call me out of my name because I'm actually willing to fact check. I'm actually willing to say Pam Grier lied on The View. Hi, Melina. Hi, Girly Samurai Esquire. I got you. I got you. I'm going to play the video for you. You said you had to go and watch it to be ready for class. I got you. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Melina, Cougar Diva, thank you. LS is here. Hey, sis, missing the lives, but here for this one. LFG, thank you for being here. Damn, Jackie Brown. Okay. Jackie Brown up there lying. Jackie White lie. Hi, Miguel. Miguel says, I remember watching most of Pam Grier's movie when they first came out in the 70s. Yuri says, love you. You are great. Thank you so much. Oh my God, she ballooned up. What the hell? Okay. Wonder maybe she had children. I don't know. Double chin and all. Yeah, she did. It's all them Whopper with cheese that she eating and then regurgitating. It's those Whoppers with cheese. Yeah. Melina says, see, I'm thinking she's lying about the military base too, because my dad was in the Army and we lived on base. I saw a lot of people saying that. And I think it said it was, I had looked it up. Like in the late 40s, there was a something signed getting rid of segregation on military bases. So by the early 1950s, they said most military bases were completely integrated. So again, you go back to her being able to walk with her mother, having the recollection of being able to go from shade tree to shade tree. I would put her at, 6, 7, 8 years old, well into the mid 1950s. And so I think she's lying about that as well. She's just lying for no reason. Oh, you're talking to Melina. Okay. Hi, Angela. Thank you for being here and thank you for reposting that stream. Somebody says acting. That's not why we watch Foxy Brown. I know. I understand that for sure. Stimulated students. She was on the casting couch all the time. Can't use her looks to get by anymore. Certainly can't. Those days are over. Pam Grier. Oh, Pam gone crazy like Robert De Niro. Yeah, it's so sad to see him. It's like I would rather have seen these people and like not know where they stood politically or not have known what their worldview was, because I see their worldview and I'm just like, I can't even enjoy Meet the Parents the same. Robert, thank you. It's exactly what you said. This just shows that we don't really know any of these people, especially actors who live in another world. Absolutely. United Voices for Trump. Pam Grier is the new Jussie Smollett. Exactly. This was so this was just disappointing. I mean, they could y'all have brought out somebody else? I don't know what made them choose Pam. Does she need a new gig? Are we going to see her in a new movie? Like, what made them choose Pam for this foolishness? Hi, Carolyn. Thank you for being here today. If ICE are like slave catchers, why are they deporting people instead of taking them to plantations? Okay. Or maybe they're going to a plantation somewhere else. I don't know. Because, they say we are the ones crazy when we try and say, come on, y'all, be real. Let's tell the facts. United Voices for Trump. It was such a ridiculous lie at that. Was she high or something? Maybe. Lord, I love you, girl, says Cougar Diva. Hey, we should do a review series on Matt Walsh's history of slavery. Real. I haven't seen that. Is that out, Cougar Diva? Or is it like on YouTube? Or is it on Daily Wire? If it's on the Daily Wire, I'm not subscribed. AJDC88, The View has zero interest in truth, facts, accuracy, measured opinion. They only derive power from racial motivated anger. Absolutely. And thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Thomas Bailey says truth is a minor detail. Apparently, it must be, because they don't seem to care at all. Melina says Katanji probably really doesn't know what a woman is. She doesn't appear to be that intelligent. Yeah, that really just ticked me off. Melina says I never saw Foxy Brown. I only watched it recently. I was too young. I think it actually came out before I was born, if I remember correctly, but I was too young to watch it earlier, but everybody was always talking about Pam Grier. So I had to go and watch it. And I can tell you, except for just knowing what people are talking about when they talk about it, you're not missing a thing, honestly. You're not mentioning anything. A bunch of bad acting. United Voices for Trump said it's called matriarchal squalor. And that's what they love. Thomas Bailey, virtue signaling is all that matters to the left. Bless 7773, continue to stay on their neck, Shamika. They need to be held accountable. I definitely plan to do that. I'm digging the Western wear look, Shamika. Thank you. That's a classic 80s prep blouse. Sure looks like one. I used to own Lacoste or Klein, maybe. It is Ralph Lauren. That's what this blouse is. They know if they get us involved that whatever the movement is, we give it an air of legitimacy. That's exactly right. Hi, Fantasy Football Games. Thank you for being here. Carolyn says people are afraid to be called the racist. They are. And I don't know why, because they use it so much now that I don't even feel like it holds the same weight. Unless, of course, then they try to go to your job and get you fired. And I feel like the woke left is in every position on every job. So that's when it absolutely matters. Jesus saves. Amen. Thank you for being here. Hi, Pete. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I see you and Miguel doing your usual. Thomas says, I'm over these angry militant black women. I call the doctor's office and request an appointment. She tells me May 9th is first available. Like, that's horseshit. Listen. I agree. Because I have to call places sometimes and I say, I'm going to just transfer me to I could talk to somebody who acts like they want to be at work. Every time you say unblack yourself. Yes, because it's ridiculous. Like, I get so annoyed with it. Like, don't put me in that category with them. Pete says the hangings of blacks was not as much as one might think. Just as Hollywood and historians have romanticized ghetto life, so have they romanticized strange fruit. They have. They act as if you just saw it every time you turned around. And I just can't believe she lied like this. The black woman they would for sure challenge is Candace Owens or you. Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. And about the simplest thing, I could say they would challenge me on something we know is a fact. I was born February 13th. Are you sure? Because you vote right, and most of the time y'all are just lying. I mean, they would go all in. Jamal, thank you for being here. Of course she lied. That's all they're good for, is lying through their teeth. Absolutely. Jay Hunter, thank you again for the super chat. Celebrities should keep their political views to themselves. I appreciate the super chats. Christopher Harris, she lied. Absolutely. Pam Grier lied on The View, stimulated students. Visual media especially has been controlled by social engineers for decades. It's really sad how people can come on TV and just lie for clout or to push an agenda. And it's allowed over and over and over again. Stimulated students, Pam been for sale. She never turned from her ways. Hey, Love Jones, thank you for being there. Said she busted. Absolutely. Busted. In more ways than one. Telling that big bold-faced lie. I'm so annoyed because I think I just get annoyed because people fall for it and nobody will call them on their BS. But I will. Anyway, y'all, I have not verified it, but Jason Whitlock is supposed to be with us tomorrow. We're going to get his take on what happened with Pam Grier, why he thinks people like Pam and Jasmine and Fanny are just allowed to lie and say whatever, and nobody questions them. Nobody holds them accountable. What are his thoughts on that? I'm excited to see it. So join me tomorrow, same place, same time, with Jason Whitlock, shaking our heads about all of this foolishness that we have talked about this week. Be there, be square. I love y'all.